Meredith the Witch Who Wasn't. Meredith was a witch who had a broomstick, but often she chose to walk. She knew some spells, but she really liked to make things from scratch. She loved to sit on the rooftop at sunset, close to the clouds. She made a racket, singing blood-curdling songs with the crows. Meredith was a happy witch, except for one thing. She didn't like magic. Witches have to work on their magic all the time, or they might forget the spells. So one afternoon, when Meredith wanted a pizza, she decided to try magic, just to keep from getting rusty. Even though she preferred to make her pizza by hand, she forced herself to use a spell. Poldrum, skimmy, shammy, sherdum. Something, something, crumb. The oven rattled and clattered, smoke and splattered. What Meredith took out was burnt to a crisp, a smoking circle of soot. Her spell had gone wrong again. Maybe the something part was the problem. Now she was hungry, and the kitchen smelled like smoke. She hated magic. One day, Meredith built herself a fantastic house underneath the stairs. She pretended the house was high in the waving branches of a tree. She was having a wonderful time until the post witch came with an airmail letter. It was what she had been dreading. The annual assessment of witchly powers in magical spells, the last day of October, in the Gathering Green. Spells begin at midnight. Don't be late. It wasn't an invitation. It was a command. All the witches would be there, showing off their newly invented spells with their old specialties. There was a test, and anyone who failed would be cast out of the witching society forever. And it was next week. Oh, for badness sakes, cried Meredith. Now we'll have to study spells every day. But first she had to find her book of magic. It wasn't in the cupboard, and it wasn't under the bed. It wasn't in the trunk either. At last, Meredith found it. Behind the oven, she brushed off the cobwebs and started to study. She was determined this time to memorize all the spells correctly. But when she tried them, they always came out wrong. Instead of raspberry ice cream, she got ordinary ice cubes. The cup and saucer disappeared, but didn't come back. And Meredith nearly turned the cat into a dog. All too soon, it was October 31st. Meredith had no time left. She called her magic broom, but even it was being disobedient. Finally, she gave up, tucked the broom under her arm, and started the long walk to the Gathering Green. It took many hours, but Meredith enjoyed herself more than she had in a long time. It felt good to rely on her own 2 feet to get her to where she was going. The Gathering Green was aglow with magical light, and witches were arriving with spins and swirls and shrieks of laughter. Nobody noticed Meredith approaching along the road. "Look at me," cackled one witch. "No hands." "Watch this," hissed another, as she turned a somersault with her broom. "It makes me dizzy to look," roared Medusa Firebird, the oldest witch of all. "But now let the spells begin. May I have your attention? The first test is to conquer a fantastic fruit tree." The air sang with murmurs and whispers. As sudden as lightning, Great trees full of luscious, unimaginable fruits appeared. The air was scented with exotic, tropical smells. Mango, citrus, papaya, guava, and coconut. Meredith remembered the right word to the spell, but what appeared was a tiny apple tree, smaller than herself. One of the witches kindly said, "It's awfully tiny. It will be better in time, though, dearie." I think it's fantastic already," said Meredith. "I meant your spell, dear, not the tree." But before the next test, all the witches shared their magical fruit. Meredith tried each kind, but none of them tasted as delicious to her as fruit from her ordinary tree's back room. The next test was called Weather. "Conquer a gentle rain and cheerful umbrellas," instructed Medusa Firebird. Meredith said the spell, but what came out was a hailstorm, followed immediately by a bank of fog, and finally a snowstorm. The other witches froze. Quickly they created a rain of cough drops. A witch consulted Meredith. You'll have more success with the fireworks," she said. Wild and wondrous, all the fireworks sizzled across the sky. Meredith gathered her strength and cast a spell, but all she could conquer was a sparkler, which glittered brightly for a few minutes, then fizzled out. "That was very sweet, my dear," said Medusa Firebird, "but it doesn't pass the test. I'm afraid we can't call you a certified witch." At sunrise, all the witches mounted their brooms and rode off, but Meredith had to walk home. This time she was tired, and her feet were sore. She thought about not being a certified witch any longer, and she ought to feel sad. When she reached home that evening, she plopped into her rocker, exhausted. But somehow she couldn't force herself to feel sad. She kept having ideas for things that she could do if she didn't have to study spells all the time. Bake bread from scratch, plant a garden, climb a tree, build a tree house. That's it. I've always wanted to build a tree house. Completely forgetting that she would be sad, Meredith danced around the room with her cat. She grabbed a hammer and nails and started building her treehouse. She built it in a tree that had grown slowly, ring upon ring, year after year, until it was almost steady as the earth and timeless as the moon. The only magic she used was a kiss on her thumb when she accidentally hit it with the hammer. One night, Meredith had a visit from Medusa Firebird and two of her friends. She served them peppermint tea from plants she'd grown and cakes she baked herself. Hauntingly delicious, Medusa declared. Anyone who can build a house and bake this cake certainly has a magic touch. I hereby reify you as a witch. But I didn't use any spells, Meredith said. Spells, Medusa Firebird scoffed. Your magic is more powerful than mere enchantments. It's awfully slow, said Meredith, beginning to feel proud. But it's long-lasting, said the wise old witch, and she took one more slice of cake before she and her cronies flew off into the sunrise. Meredith felt a grin spread across her face. She leaped up on her broom and spun in a circle in the sky. Then she landed and used the broom to sweep her treehouse spotlessly clean of cobwebs.